If anyone wants to have a psychedelic experience, go to Co-op.
It's $7 roundabout. You go and stand by that Co-op, man. Those fans, they get you every time.
Welcome back to episode 3 of the This Could Be Something Interesting podcast.
Could be something interesting.
It could be. And we were just talking about the fact that little intro music, shout out to Ben for that, because he made that. That's one of Ben's fine productions.
Yeah, one of those. One of my famous 20-second tunes. I do 20-second songs. I'm only here for... It's a short gig.
Exactly. That's the same as me when I'm doing my spoken words. I've yet to make a full song. I've just done a verse, and then I move on to the next one.
Yeah, I think that's the kind of exchange of attention that what people are dealing with these days.
True.
You scroll 20 seconds. All right, I'm satisfied. Eventually, you'll see full films. You'll queue up to the cinema. 20 seconds. Great.
To see a TikTok clip.
Yeah. That was fucking really deep, though. Maybe that's it. Just doing
a profound 20-second moment.
Yeah, well, this is it. Maybe we're gonna get better at squeezing in more depth and.
It's an interesting point, actually. Yeah, interesting.
Yeah. This could be something interesting. Still keeping the name.
Still keeping the name for now.
Still keeping the name. Solid.
I think we are. So today we are talking about something very interesting, which is altered states of consciousness. And I think more kind of broadly, what the hell even is reality? Who gets to decide what reality is? And the thing that brought it up for me, actually, this particular topic, there's a game that came out today that I've been looking forward to for ages called Hellblade 2. If anyone's played the first one, it's an incredible experience, as you'll probably know. It was kind of one of the first games to really deal with the topic of psychosis. And it's very much a kind of narrative-driven experience, more than a video game, really. It's more of just a kind of immersive experience. And it kind of used binaural audio to kind of replicate these voices in your head. It's quite traumatic, actually, and distressing to play, but it's just an experience. It's like what you were saying earlier about the kind of depth of that experience, and it just really got me kind of thinking about that and how conversations we've had with Sky in the past about her line of work and psychiatric wards and things, and some of the patients she works with, and just how who is to say people experiencing episodes of psychosis, they might be seeing reality as it actually is, for all we know.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? It's a really kind of
that line that we're all kind of meaning-making machines, and we're all just telling ourselves our own narrative. So it's kind of okay, their narrative seems pretty off-key. But, it really got me thinking. I don't even know about that game, but the game looked great. It looked really fucking good. But it kind of also got me thinking about, I don't know who said it, it was maybe Sadhguru or someone, talking about how, these identifications that we have of our person, you're believing this thing that you've been taught, it's not an actuality, it's not your reality. And if you do that, they'd call it psychosis. So I guess it's sort of I start to think about it in relation to there being a kind of the group psychosis is almost this kind of relation to the identification we have with our personhood. It's sort of this is a narrative that we all agree is the favorite version of ourselves. We're I'm this thing that you learn, but you're going to repeat that, and we all do it. And it's so, but it was exactly that. If you sold that to someone, all these things that you learn, technically they call that psychosis, but yet we don't do that with your person. We totally accept that is a norm, and maybe we'll sort of develop new language that maybe steps outside of that. But yeah, totally. It's obviously there's the more extremes, genuine psychotic episodes, but then there's I guess it's just that line between what you were saying, what is deemed as normal? What is deemed as reality?
Well, I guess that's the thing, right? Like, even when you talk about extremes and like that word normal that you just used, right? And that is our kind of, that's all we have as a kind. I mean, don't get me wrong. Like, I know obviously there are lots of criteria and things they use when diagnosing people with certain conditions, but it's kind of like, the word normal comes down to like we're comparing it to everyone else. So it's like, okay, most people see reality this way. You see reality this way, therefore you're not normal, and you are experiencing X, Y, Z. This is what we would consider to be normal, the normal functioning of the brain, and you are seeing it a different way, therefore you are experiencing X, Y, and Z. But then it always brings me back to this point of the fact that we only see I looked it up, 0.0035% of the electromagnetic spectrum.
What does that mean? What is the electromagnetic spectrum?
So it's like the radiation, basically, that is observable to the human eye, like to what we can perceive. And even if you look at, like at quantum physics, it's like all the particles that kind of make up the known universe. We can't see most of these particles. Most things are invisible to us. They're invisible to the naked eye. And so there is this, and that's kind of what they talk about in quantum physics. And even like when you look back at a lot of like, yogic cultures and philosophies, they talk about there being like lots and lots of, whether you believe in this idea of like a multiverse, that there are lots of realities existing alongside each other, but we're tuned into a certain one. It's almost like we're on a certain frequency or wavelength, and we're tuned into this current reality. And that just, what it makes me think is like, well, okay, maybe it's not normal to see things the way certain people do, but maybe they've just got enhanced perception. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. It's not necessarily, and maybe what's happening, and blimey, that would be quite traumatic, right? Like if you could see two parallel realities, although different, I mean, that's a traumatizing experience in itself. But it does just make you think, these people that hear things and see things, who's to say they're not seeing something that is real?
And I think maybe people, you could kind of agree with that, especially in relation to, if people have taken like mushrooms or something. There's this undeniable fact of it's not just this bullshit concept that's being produced. You're seeing something that's sort of like, oh, there's this other realm, there's this other thing that's always still there, and it's not different. It's just sort of like it's another layer to my reality. And I think this is totally an area, and exactly that. And maybe these people are experiencing just a certain shift in that area. So I guess the issue is where it's related with personal identity and trauma and all sorts of things, is where these things can become probably very obscure. And you might be seeing a certain area of another reality, but I think as long as the brain is having a certain kind of input, it's going to be a kind of bizarre one. But yeah, I mean, like totally, like especially when it comes to stuff like that, people can have amazing experiences. I mean, this is it's not even just drugs. This is from like even what we're creating in virtual reality now. We're entering into this sort of, it's like the collective brain. That's what it feels like. It might look like, oh yeah, but you did it with tech. It's like this whole thing of like, oh, it's not produced naturally. Like we're not psychics because it wasn't made naturally. Well, technically everything's natural, as everything is a product of the world. Do you know what I'm saying? It's like going, oh yeah, but we made plastic. Well, technically the world made plastic. We came from the earth, and the earth produced these things. Everything is technically natural in that sense. Yeah. And in the same way that we have an ability now to call someone up and have a chat on the other side of the world, you could be like, oh yeah, but you're using a phone for that, or you're not doing that naturally. But nonetheless, we are doing that. So you could see that regardless of using that tool, you used your brain. So technically we did use our brain to make a tool, and now we can speak. So technically we did become a type of telepathic. And now what we're almost entering within this virtual reality stuff is almost a chance to invite each other into a mental space. We can create a virtual environment of our own imaginations, and then we can invite people to that and go on adventures. It was like we did it ages ago when we met up in lockdown, and we could went on some little adventure. And I remember like coming out there and like, whoa, I was like, I've actually just been somewhere.
That's crazy,
and
right?
then you come back into the room. Yeah. I mean, this is the same with, I guess, even just video games as well. Like for this video game, I was playing Zelda last night, and like I guess it's when you zone out on it, and then suddenly like
it does become your consciousness. You become your perception.
I looked up and suddenly I was like, how long have I been in this fucking dark room?
That is really interesting, isn't it?
I was just like, there I was fucking cooking food and finding shrines.
That's so true.
A lonely dark room.
It's the same with like, well, obviously movies, but even interestingly, I feel like I've had similar experiences with books as well. Like if you really get like absorbed in a book and get lost in it, like your brain is painting a picture of what you're reading and experiencing. And I think you can kind of fall into this like hypnotic state, and you almost like forget you're reading. It's like really crazy. And that's the same. I guess it's kind of maybe easier with the aid of visuals and audio. But then again, that's kind of one of the things, we were talking about just before we started recording is like, which of our senses constitute our reality, right? Is it our hearing? Is it our vision? Is it our sense of smell? Is it our sense of touch? Is it a combination of all of them? And the interesting thing is that some people, it's like that conversation we were having the other day about the fact that like some people have heightened auditory senses. And do you remember we were talking about the fact that you're very good, I think you were saying with, was it sound or images? You can remember.
I can remember images very well.
Images, yeah. And I think I can't remember images. Sound for me. I'm not very good with sound, but images I am with. And I think Sky was saying something different, but it's like everyone has, I think, a kind of default or a leaning toward one of those senses that they are naturally more receptive to. And maybe that's the thing, that's almost like the pathway that can allow them to reshape their consciousness. Do you know what I mean? Like if you're very good at, maybe your imagination's very strong, maybe that means you can get lost in a book because you're taking these words and that input and because you're very imaginatively kind of like your mind is doing the thinking, conjuring up these worlds, that becomes your state of consciousness. If you're a musical person and you listen to music and you close your eyes and you get transported into other worlds, that becomes maybe your consciousness. Whereas other people hear music and they're just like,
I think it's a good tune. I met a guy the other day. He was telling me, he was telling me how it's a particular name for where you can't really image things, you're think about
that's what you
auditory, or I don't know. This is it. Even when he was telling it to me,
you couldn't understand it.
I didn't really get it. I was like, but you must be because it's, for me, it is literally all imagery.
You're picturing things.
Yeah. So when someone tells me something, and the next day I'm like, what the fuck did you just say? It's because there needs to be this other thing. Repetition, this imagery, this relation to something. And he's telling me that it's almost just thinking about a series of descriptions, and that's how you would think about a scene. You'd use a series of words that would describe that scene. And I was like, well, it's hard to even imagine it. And this is the whole thing about, it's hard to even picture a different reality until you sort of, you kind of entered that world.
Yeah.
I guess, yeah.
It is so interesting, and it's like you say, it's sometimes hard to when you meet people like that, it's hard to relate to them because you're kind of like, I don't understand.
I was totally fascinated. Yeah. I was like, you should become an artist because I want to see what you paint.
Yeah, if you don't have that visual,
what's your narrative? I almost felt like it would make him a good artist because it was something that I just wouldn't.
It's different.
It would be different. It was exactly that. It'd be something out of a different world, a different direction, a different perception. Yeah.
Because I think it's interesting, isn't it? Because there's actually like, it explains why, there are, for example, like telepathy, right? Like there are entire governmental departments dedicated to telepathy. Like a lot of people think telepathy is like some weird woo-woo thing, but it's like legit, like intelligence agencies, and like the Soviet Union were one of the ones who pioneered like telepathy, what's the word, kind of research, and then it got picked up by the States, and they have entire departments where they train people on their telepathic abilities. It's the ability to like communicate through thought, so you can effectively like read someone's mind. So it's kind of like, if you're on the other side of the world, I can connect to you through telepathy, like tuning into your wavelength, and I can kind of almost have a conversation with you. I can feel your pain. I can maybe start to picture like where you are in the world. And they've actually, I think there is actually a TV show on like a Netflix or something about it, and it's fascinating. Like they actually did these trials where somebody could pinpoint where someone else was in the world. Like they weren't connected, and it's kind of like they did that through that kind of telepathy. And there's also a there's a kind of some sort of like universal law around that, isn't there? It's something. No, I think it's like a quantum physics, quantum entanglement. It's called. Have you heard of that? It's this kind of idea that, like, when particles are entangled, they're entangled forever. And they've done studies. If you Google a quantum entanglement and the studies they've done around it, it's really fascinating in how, like, once two, I don't really know how you describe it really, but I guess two sets of particles, I don't know, have become entangled. They're always connected in some way, shape, or form, and that can come. And this is what they did in these telepathy studies: is they kind of they had a stimulus, so they listened to a phone call or they'd look at a picture to kind of tune in to that person, that individual, that thing, and they can then kind of connect with them through this. And I guess it does, maybe uses that quantum entanglement. It's super fascinating. I actually can't remember where I was going with that. I think the reason I brought that up, I know, it's just in relation to what we were saying about how some people have certain heightened senses, right? And maybe that explains why some people are more telepathic. Maybe that is kind of one of our inherent innate abilities that some people have a more kind of heightened perception to, right? They can tune into.
It's like all the bizarre things in relation with like animals and stuff, and dogs, and we think of this as like it's a magical thing, but it's also just kind of like like dogs' ability to just like there's a whole layer that we just are totally missing out on with their ability to smell when they're going around smelling everything. I have no idea. Like I just go, that smells good. That smells bad. That's about as like literally as far like there's all this other stuff. They can literally tell when someone's about to have a stroke. They can literally locate a very particular item. So there is literally mapping. There is a conversation that we're just missing out on. So like you were saying, in heightened, sense of even hearing, and. All of this, so it's amazing. I mean, this is all different animals. It's the same from, fish and bats and sonar, and there's all these other layers that we get to understand. But there was that guy actually that was he was blind, and I think he learned he used to walk around and just click like that, and he could literally tell
through echo vibration.
He'd gotten that good at it though. I was like, but that's amazing. I was like, you could tell the shape of things and even like the kind of texture that they were going to be by which is, you can only imagine what the brain was finding a way to adapt and produce and an imagery, which is
that's wild.
It is wild.
There's a there's a virtual reality experience. You've still got your Quest 2, right?
Still got the Quest.
Download it if you haven't played it. It's called Notes on Blindness.
Oh yeah, I think I did it. It's more like a submersive experience thing, yeah.
Yeah, and it was a similar thing where it's fascinating. They basically took the audio logs. It was like it was audio logs. I think this person recorded it on a dictaphone of their experience of going blind, and they kind of diaried it every day. Yeah. And you kind of, it sounds, why would you put a game about blindness in VR when you can't see anything? But the whole thing was you start off not really being able to see anything. It's really scary and distressing. And then as time goes on, and this person kind of diaries, they said, I can now start to hear the shapes and hear my surroundings. So for example, when someone like you hear a dog barking, this silhouette of a dog kind of in all these particles like appears, and then over time the visuals start to get kind of, now when that dog barks, he can also pick up where the dog is in his surroundings, and like, oh, it's next to a bush and it's next to this, and it's crazy, and it opens up this whole other sensory experience of reality in the world.
I guess it's also the area where we're all I think everyone has desired a quick change of perception from what you're feeling, whether that be drugs or alcohol or binging TV or anything. The more extreme, so true. The more extreme your desire to change the perception, the more of an opportunity to have to go, oh look, I'm to kind of watch yourself. But I think some people's that change is so mild. When you're doing TV, you aren't aware that you're doing that. I mean, I guess even these things that are in relation to habit as well. I mean, I guess it's still in relation to all of those things, from drugs to alcohol. You becomes a habit, and maybe you don't realize why you're doing it, but nonetheless, that is the kind of certainly is a direction of doing it, and is you're changing your perception to feel something else. To take yourself in a different direction. Yeah.
That's such a great point, because I was thinking we were going to do another episode at some point about addiction and craving of different substances and things. But I was thinking really deeply about this the other day when I think I told you, or I sent Sky or you a voice note or something, and I was saying, because I wanted to do an episode on it, and I was saying about how I was walking into town. It was like a really sunny day, and I was like, I'd love a beer. And then it just sent me down this whole thought pattern of like, why do I want a beer? And I'm like, because I never whenever I drink a beer, I'm just going to feel crap afterwards. Like, what's it actually going to get me? And I was really thinking about it, and I thought it's this kind of momentary alteration, even just from one beer, is there a slight kind of shift of how you feel, how you perceive reality, like the state of consciousness you are in within that moment. And I think in particular and where kind of my addiction has come from, or had come from in the past when I was very much addicted to alcohol, was to almost, and where it exists now when I do get those cravings, I think it's because of my ADHD. And it's the kind of like, even though I'm not consciously aware of it, I think subconsciously I have to acknowledge that it is tiring having constant like noise, right? Your brain constantly going at 1,000,000 miles an hour and be like, you should do this, you should do this. Oh my God, I just had this idea. Oh, but what about this? What about this? What about this? And there's 1,000,000 things going off. And I love my ADHD, right? But I think there is an element of me where it's kind of like, I just want to like dull it for a second. And it's this really kind of contradictory relationship I have actually with alcohol right now. It's kind of like I don't like it because I don't want to dull or numb my experience of life, because I'm a fortunate enough stage of my life at the moment where I genuinely love my life. Like, I love my experience of life. So I don't want to numb that. or dull it with alcohol. It's like, why the hell would I do that? But what I do want occasionally is like, I just want to just turn the volume down a little bit, because there's just so many ideas.
It's tweaking as well, maybe,
tweaking. Yeah.
It's not even, I don't even think it's just, maybe it's for that experience, but it's not always just numbing it. Something at times it allows
changing it up.
Because it allows maybe even some clarity. Actually, it allows clarity for a certain thought or a certain opinion to go, okay, because I was so busy with all these other ideas and outlook on it. You need the kind of it's like the whole, there's totally space for this, it's like when you're younger, you have drinks and people have lots of drinks and they go out and, they get really on it and there's space to be you have a good time and those experiences are valid. It's as much as it's also, it's also what the fuck are you doing that? It's also it has its place.
It's very true, yeah. It's very, very true.
You're meant to have those things, and it opens up parts of your brain. I used to smoke loads.
I agree,
and that I really got a lot out of that. Now that time has passed and I don't even really smoke it anymore, is that I can't say how much I literally got from it spiritually in terms of perspective of my person. There's so much that I've learned as a result of being in that state for a long time, and then suddenly coming out of it, is you have a kind of, and exactly that. Maybe you have a suddenly craving because you feel like it will help redirect or realign a narrative, because it's easy. I think it's almost like it's doing the opposite. Eventually you're on your own. That becomes its own type of repetition. It's like the relationship you have with your thoughts becomes that addiction. The narrative to your person becomes the addiction, and you keep repeating it, and then suddenly you want to shift it. I guess that's the dangerous line where you just sort of feel like, well, all right, you want to shift it, but you don't want to. It's like the relationship where you feel like you don't want to go back into this, where that becomes the main narrative.
It's so true, and it's so fascinating, isn't it? Because it's kind of and this was, we won't get too deep into kind of addiction on this episode, but and when I was very much addicted to alcohol, it was I didn't want to be me. Mm-hmm. I didn't want to experience my brain, and I knew that I could almost kill my brain and I could switch into this other person by drinking. So I was choosing, maybe even subconsciously choosing to just drink all day, every day, all night, every night, so I didn't have to be the sober me and hear those thoughts. Whereas now it's a kind of different relationship where it's no, I do want to be me now, but occasionally I just want to change a picture kind of thing, right? And that's a really, because even when I think about meditating as well, because meditating is something where, when I meditate, and this is often a kind of misconception about meditation, meditation, a lot of people think it's about quietening your mind. I don't believe it is, and it's certainly not for me. My mind is never quiet when I meditate. But what it does is it just allows you to just be with and experience those thoughts. So day to day, I'm having all these ideas, but I'm forcing myself almost to kind of engage with the task I'm doing. And eventually, if I can get into a flow state, those thoughts start to quieten down naturally. But when you're meditating, you're kind of just allowing the thoughts, and that in itself is a kind of altered state of consciousness, right? Of this acceptance. So there are so many, and I guess humans are always going between. It's kind of quote unquote spiritual people. Doing yoga, doing whatever your spiritual practice is, maybe you're religious, you have religious practices, you are getting into an altered state of consciousness. That's why you do that thing. And I think to an extent, it's kind of human nature, really, isn't it? To seek out these different states of consciousness.
It's I've been going for swims in the ocean every day for the last year. And there was times, like, when it's like -5 outside and I'm flying down on my scooter before work. So I'm getting there for like 7 o'clock in the morning to go for a swim in the ocean. And it's like -5. And I remember one time being like, what the hell is pulling me? Because I didn't feel like, before I was doing that, it was way harder to get up. It was way hard, like, to get up that early. I was like, no, I don't want to get up. But I was actually kind of like excited to go down and swim in the ocean. And it's exactly that. It was. I think there's a side to it which is for health. You recognize it's for health, and also you're probably getting very high from it as well. You feel great, and it is a shift in perception. And after, you feel amazing, and you know that you're going to feel amazing after it. So that's why you almost want to rush down for it. It's almost like, I remember describing it to someone. I was like, it's just like nice to be doing this activity that makes life feel like a real thing. Like it's real, like I'm alive, like I'm in this body and it's alive. And that is exactly it. Because I think for a lot of people, we don't live like that. You don't have to survive. Not really. Most things are kind of taken care of. It's very rare. Are you in a situation where you're forced into
fighting for
you're fed into that kind of area of perception, and whether that be from meditating, it's aligning you back into this fact that you're like, it's real, life's real, you're feeling something that's real. And I guess perception is a way that, because we want to feel, and maybe it's just a way that we can channel certain feelings. I mean, it's like all the different types of studies for therapy, therapy alongside certain drugs. They're doing lots of different testing for certain drugs, and they give them maybe a really small amount. But in terms of therapeutic stuff, like, there's loads of, because they know that certain drugs will help certain areas, help people open up in a certain way.
It's like psilocybin, isn't it? And even like ayahuasca is becoming very like studied substance, peyote, and all of these other kind of psychedelic plant medicine.
And I guess, what you're saying, with all the, whatever your spiritual practices. I mean, I don't know what, there was a lyric and something, I'm trying to remember who the artist was, but he said, you need to lose your ego if you want to gain momentum. That was one of the lyrics. I thought that was so good. And I was like, when I already thought about that, I was like, because I think naturally, maybe you become quite egotistical to create a vision, a goal. You kind of have to be like, I believe in myself, I've got this idea of myself. It becomes exaggerated. And then suddenly, like, I pondered on it for a bit. I was like, you need to lose your ego if you want to gain momentum. You need to let go, actually, of this idea you have yourself, and then you can excel. And maybe these shifts do help, whether that be meditation or whatever spiritual practice it is.
It just got me thinking then about when you mentioned about how like alcohol can be a valid experience. Rach has this kind of joke in one of her stand-up routines where she talks about how like people in spiritual communities talk about these kind of spiritual journeys, and you're going like a mushroom journey or an ayahuasca journey. It's like a journey. Right. Yeah. And she always talks about, like, when she was younger, she used to love her like red wine journeys. It's kind of like, it's the same thing. Like you are just changing your perception of reality, and people are like, no, but this is a sacred plant. It's like, it's just changing your relationship to reality. And it's not like, okay, I mean, fair enough. Like it's one of those things where, like, maybe there's more statistically, it's maybe more damaging to drink alcohol. This isn't a fight about like, alcohol or, weed is better than this or this drug's better than that. It's not about that, but it does come down to this
dangerous stuff that you can do just through doing breathing techniques. There's actually quite a lot of They all have realms of other possibilities, don't they? Totally.
And it's kind of like funny I always thought that joke was so funny, because when you think about it, like, actually, if you had, like, for example, when you do like ayahuasca, I've never done it before, but when you do these ayahuasca retreats, they have like a shaman there who guides you through the experience. Imagine if like people did the same with alcohol. Like you sit on the floor with a bottle of flipping Glen's vodka and you have a shaman like playing music and be like, that's it, just keep drinking.
Blowing tobacco in your face.
Yeah, while you're downing a bottle of flipping Glen's vodka.
This is kind of what I mean about, the trials that they're doing with the therapeutic approaches to all these different drugs. And yeah, but exactly that. I think that is actually really real, because in relation,
it's just the settings, isn't it, and the circumstances under which you are.
The narrative that we've created, this kind of binge culture, and the relationship we have with it, if we think it's ugly, like there's something wrong with it, or maybe there's not anything wrong with it. Maybe it's just the narrative that we're currently giving it.
Yeah, and the ways in which we kind of use those things, right? Like that. I think that's the key difference. Yeah, if you were to binge ayahuasca on a flipping night out. You're probably not going to have a great experience. Maybe you would. I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah, just all the lads. Ayahuasca. We're all one, lads. We're all one. Yeah, that's. I think that's probably a better direction. I actually think we should probably suggest that idea.
Trial it.
Ayahuasca. Yeah. Binge nights.
Ayahuasca benders.
Ayahuasca benders. Yeah, no, I actually think that's really. I think that's something really. It was even like, I always think it was like, like a MDMA or something. Is the therapeutic areas of that, the ability to open up about subjects that are extremely difficult, is amazing, because I guess you're on such a high, you're able to communicate these things that you normally can't. So I think particularly stuff like that in therapeutic areas to open up. It's like with the whole, like, we've had parties and people have had like, it's something about, I don't know what it is about people when they think, oh, well, you're going to have some mushrooms and we're going to do it with a big group of people, but like it's like a party setting. I was like, that is not the best place to have it. It was like, and this is what I mean by, like, the setting that you've given it. If you have mushrooms probably on your own, or one person, you're in the woods, you're probably
being in nature. It's like
you're going to have an experience that's valuable. But if you're doing it for the sake of, it's going to add some visuals, doing it at a party, you're probably just going to be more aware of yourself than ever before. You're like, am I breathing weird? Well, it's funny because this is it. When you're going through those journeys, you're also grabbing onto any piece of identity that you can, aren't you? Because you're shifting out of one into another. I mean, yeah, like we were saying with that game. The game looked amazing, though. I hadn't even heard about it. I didn't even realize you said it was a second one.
Yeah,
it looks so good. What was it called again?
Hellblade.
Yeah, it looks so good. Yeah, it looks like they really. Yes. I mean, I guess it's one of those things that you want to execute it well as well. You want to. Because it is more than it's a sensitive subject for probably a lot of people, and you want to get it to its to be accurate, I guess.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I mean, they treat it with a lot of respect. Like I think that video I sent you, like they have a lot of people in the team who have personal experiences with psychosis, and they brought in like doctors and psychologists and all sorts. So yeah, it's very well done. The other something that I was thinking earlier as well as you were talking was about when we were talking about meditation in particular, it got me thinking about I can't remember who sent. I think it was Cara maybe that sent me this podcast on Vipassanas. And it was called The Retreat, and it was basically about, I might have even forwarded it to you guys, I can't remember, but it was basically like a lady who did interviews with people who had almost like become addicted to Vipassana meditation. Yeah. And some of them had ended up in states of psychosis. Like they were actually, diagnosed as having, experienced psychotic episodes. And that kind of just got me thinking down that whole path as well. When she sent me that initially and I listened to it, that was my initial thinking of like, is it that they've just kind of experienced a random mental health episode? Is it that it's maybe the meditation has uncovered some trauma which has triggered that mental health episode? Or is it that their perceptions have become so heightened they are now because here's the interesting thing about Vipassana and like my experience from it. What begins to, and for anyone who doesn't know and who hasn't heard of Vipassana, it's basically a 10-day silent meditation retreat. So you meditate for 10 days in complete silence. You can't take, any kind of sensory stimulation. So you can't take books or like a pen and paper or your phone or computer. Like you're literally just meditating for 10 days straight, complete silence, and you're just watching your breath. You're just breathing and you're just focusing on the sensations within your body. You're not kind of thinking about all these other things. If you do have thoughts, because naturally you're going to have thoughts, you just bring your attention back. That's the whole practice. And over time, you start to be able to feel the tiny little particles and atoms that make up your body, your physical body. Because if you put the human body under a microscope, we are just a collection of billions and billions of little floating particles. Like we're not actually physical, solid objects. We look like it. But again, when you look under enough magnification, we are just all these billions and billions of like vibrating particles like this. Mm-hmm. And you actually start to experience yourself like that. So to your point about your personhood, your sense of self, that starts to dissolve because you're like, hang on, like what the... It is bizarre. The experience I had, it was almost like the Matrix where you start to see everything in code. It's like, hang on, I'm not this physical and everything. And then you start to feel outside of yourself. It's a wild kind of experience. But then as soon as you kind of like, no, hang on, you can feel it when you start going back and you start attaching into your mind. But because it's almost like your ego or your brain, I guess, your brain is clinging onto that sense of identity because it's scared. It's like, hang on, we're losing you here. Like, come back.
It's a threat to the attachment
to the
to the person.
But it's only when you let go you're able to experience to your point, when you let go of that attachment to your person, you're able to experience reality as it actually is and feel those vibrations and those particles. And that's and one of the interesting things as well is I certainly had this when I left the Vipassana. I did the worst thing that I could have done, and we were actually flying out to Bali that day, so I had to go to a flipping airport after a 10-day silent meditation. So I was coming back into London on the tube, and as you can imagine, that was quite distressing. And but one thing I did notice is I could really, really feel people. Like I felt so, just someone walking in front of me. I can't do this normally, and some people are naturally better at this, and that's what I mean about people have different heightened senses. But I could feel the emotions of people around me, and that's and that got me thinking about, well, I imagine if you did practice Vipassana every day for, because you're doing this for extreme, you can't really replicate that just by meditating for 10 minutes a day. Like you are literally meditating all day, all night, 14 hours. You're not doing anything else. So it does allow you to achieve this, sensitivity, I guess, that otherwise just wouldn't be possible in normal day-to-day life unless you were to go on a retreat. Because you have to shut off everything else around you, right? You're non-contactable. And it just got me thinking, for people that have done that, they probably are or could maybe potentially be experiencing other worlds. They've maybe opened up their self so much. It's like maybe something's flooded in to their perception of like, holy shit, I'm seeing something here So they go, and they're then, and that's when their personhood comes back in, and then there's this whole conflict, and you could just crumble under that, right?
Yeah. No, that's fascinating. I guess that's totally it. Yeah, it's exactly that. When I say it's a threat to the identity that you currently have. And you want to kind of let go of it. And even with meditative practice, I think when people are getting particularly maybe like you go into letting go, but you go in with like a rope tied around yourself. Sort of like, okay, just in case.
Yeah.
Just in case I fully fall off. It's like you want to look at yourself, but you don't want to fully like, well, hang on a minute. I do really like me.
It's like when they send the astronauts and they go outside of the thing and they have the tether like tied to the ship, don't they?
Yeah, exactly that. You're like, but I would like to come back to the ship.
Yeah.
Because I don't like it that much out there. There's a whole load of nothing. I mean, I remember really actually getting this.
That's actually quite an interesting analogy, isn't it?
Getting this feeling in lockdown. I remember I used to go for walks and I'd sit by the roundabout, and there was and I really like, it was pretty wild. I suddenly just became so. I used to go there and I'd sit there for a while and watch the cars go around and people cross over the roads, and suddenly I became really aware that like this wasn't happening to me. Like I was watching it, and suddenly I was like, this isn't happening like to me. I was like, it's literally unfolding at the same time as me. I'm not separate from it. I'm not separate from this kind of the scene. I'm looking at it, and I identify with this. I'm identifying with this perception. Sort of like, oh yeah, this happens to me. That's what we normally do. We see things happen, and we go, that happened to me. That happened to this physical body. It happens through these eyes, and I'm the one that experienced it. And suddenly I realized, like, for me to like be seeing it, like I'm part of the scene. Like I was also for me to be sitting there and looking at it, I was also the cars going. I was also the people. It was like I was unfolding, and that is what's happening continuously around you every time you go out. And it's like these things aren't. Like it feels like they're happening to you, but they're unfolding at the same time as you, the way that you interact with people. And so I think the more identification we have with our personhood, which is why we have this kind of fear, we live in this kind of fear state, because we're sort of like, oh no, these things are going to happen to me, there are threats to me. But then you realize, oh, actually there's nothing really to fear. There's all these things that are it's just more of me out there. It's just more of me unfolding, and not in like, that, like a literal sense, like this person isn't literally this person. It's like it's outside of that personal state. It's to do with like what you were saying, these atoms. You could feel the vibrations. You could feel that all these things were just essentially you. There's a gap between you, and as much as it feels like the air,
it's just a slightly bigger gap, but
it's just a bigger gap. So therefore, but I'm a really dense gap.
Yeah.
So my density really makes me real, and it's like, but that's exactly it. And it was really just a bizarre feeling, just to sort of suddenly be like watching it, and yeah. But I think you get that all the time, and I guess. But
don't you think that in itself is strange? Because like, were you like on anything, or were you just like
no? It was just my just go for a walk and
that's really interesting, though, isn't it? Because I've had that as well, and I'm sure like for anyone listening, I think most people have probably had an experience where you've just literally like in a moment you've just been like, hang on, I feel weird. Like I'm seeing something in a different way. Where does that come from?
I think at the time it was the gentle hum from the co-op fans. It was they were putting me into some kind of deep hypnotic state. It was so relaxing. I think it was kind of warm around there as well. I was like, yes, I'm one with the roundabout. No, literally, you're like, well, yeah, that's exactly it. I think
so. If anyone wants to have a psychedelic experience, go to Co-op, stand outside.
$7 roundabout. You go and stand by that Co-op, man. Those fans, they get you every time. I know you remember as well, actually, because the first start of lockdown, there wasn't really anyone driving, and I remember like And because there was no cars, I suddenly was like, what the fuck is that sound outside? It was the co-op fans. They were just like so loud. And I'd never heard them before. And talk about, a change in perception. It was this lit that like a tiny tweak. And suddenly I was like, what is that noise? What is yelling at me outside? And it's just like such a funny thing to like not. I guess those little tweaks in your reality, and suddenly it was like this loud thing. Yeah, totally. Like that's exactly it. The co-op fans. So if you're looking to transcend,
just hit up the co-op. That's that's a really interesting point as well, though. What you said about like, the fact there wasn't really any cars, and that in itself was enough to kind of make you notice things you hadn't noticed before. Yeah. That's what that psychologist, that professor guy, was saying in that Hellblade interview, right? He was kind of talking about how, when people are experiencing psychosis, it's kind of like normally our brains have to naturally shut off lots and lots of reality, because otherwise there's too many sensory inputs for our brains to handle. So we have to only like tune into the things that our brains can see patterns in and make meanings and connections to. So we ignore other things. It's like like Darren Brown, he kind of does it, doesn't he, with those kind of things he like plants like subconsciously. It's like it's going in, but you're not necessarily seeing it. And then it's really fascinating how that works, and how
totally. I mean, it's like these, and some of them are kind of sad, I guess, is just how easily influenced we are without kind of picking up,
and how much we can miss.
Totally. We're just sort of like, it's like you can, I mean, and it can be fundamentally almost, it feels almost abusive, really. Because it's just these tweaks to our human, whether it's learn or, that we just have certain behaviors that we're just sort of sensitive to, that can be pinpointed and, made advantage of, or, all sorts of things. It's like the whole thing of free will, really. So I'm like, well, how much free will do you really think you have? And I was like, you chose. But it was like, yeah, but like, what was your reason for choosing in the first place? It's sort of like, there's so many reasons why you chose. It's like, you're like, but I chose left, I chose right. It's like, did you? The amount of things that have happened to lead you to where you are now.
Do you know what I was thinking, actually, on that point the other day was about how I try, because you can try to control the inputs, right? You can try and control the things you are exposed to, which are naturally, no matter how kind of strong-willed you are, they're gonna have some form of impact. So I try not to watch news. I don't watch the news. I don't look at the news on my phone. I kind of block all of that stuff out intentionally. And then I remember, I think I like went into a shop or something, and they had like the radio on or the news on in the background, and I was like, oh, great. And then they were talking about like the war in Ukraine, and it's kind of like, oh, I wish I just hadn't walked into the shop at this moment. So I did, because that instantly, and I felt it. I came out of the shop and I was like, oh, I feel really shit now. And I'd like forgotten about all this stuff in the Ukraine. And now I feel, and they're talking about, oh, World War III is going to happen tomorrow. And you're like, oh, great. Now I feel like, I felt so good coming into this shop, and now you've just ruined my day, literally, by the news just being on at the wrong time. That's all it takes, right? To your point, it's the tiniest little thing. Or like, maybe we're just walking down the street and we see a certain ad, and we might not even think it's had an effect on us. We might just catch it out the corner of our eye and think, wow, that bag looks really good on that person. I would love that bag. and you don't know, you don't even really notice you've taken it in, but you have.
Yeah, totally. I guess, but once again, I think it really, there's so much that really boils down to perception in relation to identity. I think there's something really particularly kind of funny about that. It's like, I don't know, I'm sure everyone's been down a busy street. If you live in a city or anywhere and for whatever reason someone's shouted at you, no reason, or just just some sort of chaos of just what it is like to to be a human being. People are chaotic, right? And it leaves you with a funny feeling. You're like, oh, that wasn't nice. But it's also like because we take things personally, or someone does something, or maybe a friend does something in a bizarre way, and we take these things and we carry them, and they carry them for a long time, And I guess there's something about it's like if someone says something and they say something that you disagree with someone, it's because our belief systems, are in relation to our identity. So when someone says something that's against your belief system, it's offending you. It's offending this thing that you've invested yourself into, and that's in relation to so much. So I guess it's sort of that tweaking of just sort of holding things a little lighter, isn't it? In terms of perception. We have that choice to sort of like, okay, like I can hold on to this tight, and and therefore you will get hurt when something goes against it. This narrative that we are continuing to push. But like I said from the start, I guess the funny thing is that the collective psychosis is our identification with personhood. It's like this is the most culturally accepted psychosis. It's like it's okay. We're all for that one.
That's a great quote.
Yeah. Put that on.
I can't even remember what you just said. Yeah, what was it? Our collective psychosis is our identification to our personhood.
Yeah.
Let that sink in. Let that sink
put that
in.
In your pipe and smoke it. So I was like, dude, it's like when you sent this, you were like, when you sent it, I was like, so what are we going to talk about? And what did you say? What was the first thing? What was just the initial?
Can't remember, like altered states of reality and consciousness.
I was at work and I was like, dude. And then I was like, actually, no, it's actually really good, but first I was just like, because it just has a sentence.
It does sound like psychedelic.
Yeah, and I said to our friend, I was like, oh, I'm doing the podcast today. And I was like, oh, yeah. I was like, I'm going to talk about this. And then later I was like, I'm going to talk some real shit today. I was like, not like real shit. I was like, I'm just going to talk a lot of nonsense. I was like, I'm glad you put an intention into that. I was like, yes, I'm putting real intention to just really talk more shit than ever before. No, but like, this is it. This is it as well though. Like, we can invest. We can invest like, because you can talk about the same thing and it'd be silly and it'd be fun and it can also be serious. It's like that investment that we have in the conversation, because the conversation, like I was saying about holding on to things too heavy or light, it's sort of like we have that option to sort of like view it for a slightly different narrative. But yeah, it's a fucking great subject, and it's a good one for people to think about. I mean, especially through meditation and stuff like this, I think people can get a lot out of it through just I guess realigning with some sense of perception in yourself, which is a lot more silent as well. It's more subtle than subtle, isn't it?
I think there's so much more open to us than we even realise. There's something that I remember seeing a Sadhguru video once, and it always really stuck with me, because he was being asked like, oh, do you agree with like weed, or are there any certain drugs, like ayahuasca and all these kind of quote unquote spiritual drugs, and he was being asked about them, and he kind of said like, he said I don't necessarily have anything against it, but I just like, the human body is literally like the greatest drug manufacturing machine on the planet. Yeah. Like we can, when you think about what the human body naturally is capable of doing from like the chemicals and hormones in the brain, it's insane. Like we can access all kinds of wild states of perception and consciousness, but because the way he explains it is kind of like, we've never read the instruction manual to our body. We don't know how to tap into that. And that's kind of like, again, Vipassana, you don't get an instruction manual, but you kind of start to realize like, there's a lot here that I don't have. That's all that happens after you come out of it. You're like, holy shit, I know nothing. Like I thought I knew, but I know nothing. And then because I think it was shortly after my Vipassana, I heard Sadhguru say that. So it really hit home for me. I was like, that's so true. And like, and that's kind of like, I guess it's that seeker's thing, right? Of always like looking for that next altered state, whether that be through meditation or some form of substance or even a relationship sometimes, right? They allow us to kind of, I guess to your point about personhood, maybe it's kind of like, okay, you're no longer this individual person, you're kind of bonding with this other and kind of becoming this unit, right? And you're no longer alone, you're no longer a solo person, you're kind of merged with this other person, and that in itself can bring up other feelings and experiences and perceptions of reality. And you can't, right? People do literally experience reality like you hear people say that in relationships all the time, like, I've never been more happy. Like they are now experiencing their day, the same things. They're going to work and they've just got a smile on their face. They're super happy. Oh, I'm in love. I'm in love. Oh, it's so wonderful. And it's like, you're just experiencing a different sense of reality. Your body created this. That person, they haven't like injected love into you. It's not like a physical thing they've given you. Your body or your mind has kind of created this idea, and you've created these chemicals. And I'm not trying to take away from love. I'm just, but it's kind of, they're all just different states, right?
Guess, absolutely, yeah. It's all different states of what's already there. I mean, look, I'm in a different realm now. Camera's gone.
You are. You've gone into the EOS webcam utility realm. It looks pretty dark.
It's pretty dark here. Pretty dark and boring here. Oh, not the dead camera area. Oh, not this perception. Why?
Only the people watching on YouTube will get what's happening right now. But Ben has entered a different state of reality.
It's really dark in here. So that's classic. That's on my end. Yeah,
classic. It always happens at a good time though, because otherwise we'll just end up talking forever. It's like always.
Yeah, I think this is where we should just would rely on this as the basic.
Yeah, we should. Yeah, this is when we stop.
All right, so like Ben leaves.
It's over, guys.
Yeah. All right, fair enough, guys. That's why we cut it. I think it's the perfect sort of. Maybe that's why they made it like that. It's sort of the time set. We're sort of like, all right. Well, thanks for that, guys. The camera let us know that it's the time to enter our regular perceptions. Now I'm going to enter a new perception. I'm literally about to enter a new perception. I'm going to close this laptop and I'm going to stop looking at the screen and remember that I'm in a room and I'm not just in the EOS webcam world.
That's it. And for anyone listening, when you take your headphones off or you press the pause button or whatever you're listening on, you're going to go back to your own reality of whatever you were doing before. There's one book recommendation that I just want to finish on for anyone who kind of wants to go deeper down this kind of rabbit hole of perception and reality. It's called The Holographic Universe by Michael Talbot. It's a super interesting book, and it kind of pulls in, different learnings from fields of like quantum physics and other, even it dives into all sorts of different scientific studies, religious, spiritual, kind of pulls from all different areas. And it just dissects the nature of reality. It's very, very fascinating.
Yeah, no, I've heard of it, actually.
Yeah, it's a really cool book. Well worth checking out on Audible, or you can get the physical book probably on Amazon. But yeah, highly worth checking out. And thank you as always for listening. We've got some exciting episodes coming up. Ben's got a few guests planned. I've got a couple of guests we'll be having on as well. It's going to be
pretty much from next week. Yeah, we should have consistent guests, and guests with cameras just like mine. Sometimes we'll even share this camera, and we'll both just leave abruptly. It's good the audio doesn't cut out, though. It's not good to sort of just like, all right, fuck off.
That I'm wouldn't be much a very good podcast. It's all good fun. Right, thank you for listening, guys, and we will see you all in the next one.